Good evening, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Both of these greetings have the same meaning, but they are very, very different. One is very formal and the other is informal. I'm sure in your language you have both formal and informal ways of saying things. In English, it's the same, and it's very important to know both. Hello again, my name is Cara and I teach English here on YouTube. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Today's lesson is a number 1 listening lesson, but it will be all about the difference between formal and informal English. It's important to not only understand which words and phrases are formal, but also when to use them. If you speak too formally in an informal, in a casual situation, you will sound strange. And if you speak too informally in what should be a formal situation, you might sound rude or very out of place. So let's look first at formal English. We usually use formal English in these situations: for work or business meetings, when you're giving a formal presentation, and in certain places like a church or mosque, a bank, and some shops, especially luxury or expensive shops. You would probably also use formal English in a job interview and in certain ceremonies. Formal English can show authority. It also shows professionalism and can show the seriousness of a situation. So now let's look at informal or casual English. We usually use this with friends and family, with schoolmates, and with co-workers, but not usually with senior staff. It often includes slang and doesn't follow the rules of grammar, whereas formal English usually does follow the rules of grammar and uses complete sentences. It can give people that you're speaking with a feeling of closeness. It can show your personality and make others feel comfortable. It's often quicker too, as the sentences are much shorter than in formal English. So you should be able to see that it's important to learn both formal and informal expressions in English and know which ones to use where. For today's listening, we will be at a cafe and Jonathan will be ordering a coffee. There are 2 different versions. Listen to the first one and tell me what you think. Do you think it is too formal or too informal? Good evening, sir. How can I be of assistance?
Good evening. Would it be possible to request a large cappuccino, please?
Yes, of course. Would you care for some sugar?
I would. Thank you. I would like 2 teaspoons of sugar, please.
I can arrange this for you. Will you be dining in with us this evening or taking the coffee with you?
I would prefer to have the coffee here, please.
Certainly. There will be a short wait, and so I suggest you select a table and make yourself comfortable.
Thank you kindly.
So, do you think the conversation was formal or informal? Right, formal. But actually, this conversation took place in a small cafe. And in this situation, we would usually use informal English. You might hear these kinds of expressions in a very expensive restaurant. But in average restaurants or cafes, you would usually hear informal or casual English. Remember, informal English can create a feeling of closeness and can make the other people feel more comfortable. Let's have another look at that conversation and see if we can make it less formal. So, good evening. This is actually quite formal. Good morning and good afternoon are neutral, not formal or informal, but good evening is quite formal. So in this situation, we would probably say hello or hi, and maybe even how are you? Sir. This is definitely too formal. In a casual situation, you might hear mate or man, depending on the preference of the speaker. Often, if the speaker is a bit older, you might even hear dear or darling. This also creates a feeling of closeness. How can I be of assistance? Again, a very formal expression. Instead, you might hear, what would you like? Or, what can I get you? Would it be possible to request? This way of asking for something is extremely polite and therefore usually formal. Or maybe it's for a really large request. In this case, you would probably just say what you wanted. Remember, informal English is shorter. You don't need to say full sentences. Of course can be neutral, but there are lots of other expressions in informal English you can use, like no worries and not a problem. Care for. This is old-fashioned English and saved for formal situations. You might hear, do you want any sugar? Or even, any sugar? Again, this is very polite and not necessary in an informal situation. You'd probably just answer it as short or as quickly as you can. You don't need to have a full sentence. I can arrange this for you. Again, not necessary. And there are a lot of other expressions in informal English that we could use. Can you think of any? Will you be dining in with us this evening or taking the coffee with you? This is a very long way of asking, have here or take away. And that's what we usually say in Australia. You might also hear have in or to go, or dine in or to go. Okay, this sentence shows that for formal English we need full, grammatically correct sentences. But for informal, the shorter, the better. Certainly tends to be a word used for formal situations. And the second part could be said much quicker. This is a formal expression and very polite. There are a lot of slang or casual ways of saying this, like thanks heaps, thanks a lot, thanks mate. Alright, now let's listen to the informal version of this conversation, which is much more appropriate for this situation and location. Hi there, what can I get you?
Just a large cappuccino, please.
Yeah, no worries. Any sugar?
Oh yeah, 2 please.
Alright, have here or take away?
Here, thanks.
Too easy. Grab a seat and I'll bring it over to you.
Brilliant, thanks a lot. Done?
Done!
Ah!
Yes, it is. Much shorter, isn't it? So normally for a listening lesson, I would have a version with subtitles. But because this is so short, I want you to see if you can write it down yourself. I'll play this version again, but much slower. See if you can write down every word. Hi there. What can I get you?
Just a large cappuccino, please.
Yeah, no worries. Any sugar?
Oh yeah, 2 please.
Alright. Have here or take away?
Here, thanks.
Too easy. Grab a seat and I'll bring it over to you.
Brilliant, thanks a lot.
How did you go? If you do want to see the script, I've put the link to the full script and some questions in the description box and in the comments below. If you follow that link, you can see if you were correct. That's all for today's lesson. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back again next week. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Please put a like and say hello in the comments below. If you liked this lesson, you'll probably also like a video I did on Aussie slang. I'll leave a link now for this lesson and another one I think you will like. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday for another lesson. Bye!